Hello everyone, welcome back for the second part of history, the three orders. So today's topic, the beginning topic, I'll say that it is the Menorial Estate. So in the last video we just finished till second order, so this is your continuation of that only, the Menorial Estate. So under this, one question comes, or you can take down one question. The question is, what was the Menorial Estate? Describe its major characteristics. So when you talk about manorial estates, we can say that it's a house. A lord has his own house, or which is known as a manor. Now why manor? Because the lords of that time, especially the nobility who has lots of land, they were exactly known as manors or manor. So he controlled villages, not only one, but he has got lots of villages under him. So some lords control hundreds of villages, some control more than that. So under these villages there were some peasants who also lived. Now altogether a small manorial state could have many families living together, while larger estates might include 50 to 60 people. Almost everything what is needed in this or in their daily life is found within the area itself. They don't need to go out. Okay, within the area means within the estate. Now grain was grown in the field. Now blacksmiths will be there, blacksmith for making weapons. Then carpenters will be there, stone masons will be there. Then women will also not be sitting quietly. Women, what will they do is they will weave fabric. Children also, they are asked to work in wine press. Wine press means the area where they used to make wine. So the estate actually have a very big area, and then because it has got big area, it has got woodlands also. When you say woodland means forest, extensive woodlands, and these forests are areas where the lords used to go for hunting. And what do they have? They contain almost all the things that they need for the animals, like pastures. The woodlands or the forest, they have the pastures. Pasture means the areas where the cattle can go and graze, or the horses can graze. Then these people were Christians, so they have a church within the estate and a castle for defense. So that means if we talk about manor or manorial estate, it has got almost everything within their range. Now from the 13th century, some castles were made bigger for some other thing. That means the army, this knight's family, they used to live outside the castle. So in need of time they have to be called. So now what did they do is, in order to make all this army or the knights live together or live in the nearby area, they started to construct some kind of castle which is little bigger than the old ones, and all the families, knights families, to live there. Now England's castle, one example, was known before the Norman conquest. And what happened was that they had centers, which are centers for political administration, means for meeting and all, and for military power under their feudal system. And it was so developed during their time. Now the manor could not completely self-sufficient. Remember this. We cannot be self-sufficient. We depend on someone else for many things. So likewise the manor also was not self-sufficient, because you see, he needs salt, he needs millstones, he needs metalware. All these things are obtained from the outside sources. So they have to see that these things comes inside a manorial estate with ease and in proper time. So those lords who wanted a luxurious lifestyle were keen to buy rich furnishing, musical instruments, ornaments, then which are not locally produced. Now this is like show off, right? Because these manors, they are very rich. So if they wanted to show that I have this, I have that, and whatever is made in local area, they said okay, we can buy after few days. But whatever they used to get it, they will not get it from the estate. Okay, so they will buy it from the outer part of their estate, so that they can boost off, saying that see, I got this. Okay, and for this they pay a huge sum. Now had to get this from other places. After paying all this sum, this thing comes to them, but all is done just for show off, and the local people will say that wow, my manor have so much things, and or my king has so much things, and this is just to gain some importance, some kind of importance in the eyes of the local people. So after the manorial estates, our next topic is the knights. In this part, we will basically talk about the mutual relationship between the lords and the knights. So let us see the relationship here. The knights were linked to the lords in the same way as the lords were linked to the king. Now what we are talking about is that the knights, when you talk about knights means the soldiers. The soldiers, they have to work for the king, but how they are working for the king, that is the question. The king actually gives some land to the landlord, right? And this landlord used to give some of the lands which is given to the landlord by the king to the knights. Now whenever the land is given to the knights, the landlord used to tell them that you have to promise that because you had given or you were given some lands, your duty is to protect us. Okay, that is the promise that the knight have to give in lieu of the land that is given to him. The lord also promises to the knight that after his death, whatever property that he have or whatever land which is given to him will be or will go to his son. So that means they are protected. Now the fifth could also be inherited. The fifth could be means how big can be the land? Extended from 1000 acres to 2000 acres. Okay, some knights used to get this much of land. It also included a house for a knight. Whenever they are given the land, remember, they get a house, then where his family will live. There will be a church, there will be some other establishment to the house of knights dependents, means those who are depending on the knight, their houses will be also nearby him. Then a water mill will be there, a wine press will be there. All these things were exactly given to the knights, and this is not given just for the case because he's working under the king. It is given so that he could give his time to the king, he could give his time to the landlord. And what time they need? The time for guarding him, protecting him, because they have lots of skill, war skill and all. Then like feudal manor, the peasants also cultivate the land of the fief. Okay, then in exchange the knight used to pay a regular fee to his lord and promises to fight for him in war. So now see, when the king gives the landlord some land, now the king used to ask for some promises from the landlord that you will protect me. The landlord promises the king that yes sir, I will protect you. And then when the landlord receives some kind of land, he alone cannot cultivate such big land. So what will he do is he will distribute some of his land to the knights, especially the higher order knights. And this higher order knights also have to promise to the landlord that in return they have to protect them. So the knight promises that yes sir, we will protect you. The landlord also promises the knight that your land, whatever you are having it, will not be taken away after your death. It will belong to your son, and that means you can inherit them. Then another thing is that since the land is very big, inside which there is a church, there are different establishments, there are some people living there, Now the knight alone cannot look after all these things. So what does he do is that he also employs some farmers or some peasants, and he asks these peasants that you cultivate the crop, whatever crop you will grow, from that I'll get something. So the farmers happily they cultivate the crop, right? After which whatever is cultivated, from that he takes the knight takes some portion of it. So, and whatever thing that the knight receives from the land, from that again he have to give it to the landlord, and whatever the landlord receives from that portion he have to give something to the king. That means, remember, whatever is produced should be more in number, otherwise at last the king may get very less amount and he may be very frustrated, he will be very angry. So there is a pressure on the peasants in growing crops. They have to be very much very hard working, so that production of things will be very good one. So if the production is more, then divisions or part, how much the landlord will get, how much the knight will get, how much the king will get, will be almost a good sum or a good number. Then this is the relationship between the lord and the knights. Okay, then the knights had to spend some time every day fencing. When you say fencing, it's not like making some fence around the the castle or the palace. Fencing means it's a game, it's a war. That means there is a very fine sword, and they have to go and practice with that fencing. So you might have seen this was a game or a part of Olympics long time back, fencing. So they will go and practice this fencing and practicing tactics with the dummies. Dummies means some models will be kept and they have to fight with those dummies to see that how to cut, how to slash, all this thing, so that they don't forget their skills. Then a knight could offer his services to the lords, but his foremost loyalty was to show his own lord. Now see, the knight, he has to show some kind of regards to the king, but now the lord also, the landlord, the landlord is most important for the knight, because he had given him the land. So the knight will show uttermost respect to the landlord, then little bit to the king. But yes, when you say this little bit, doesn't mean that the king can easily know that he is not paying respect to him. Okay, so they will say that foremost loyalty was to his own lord. Our next topic is monks. Now this is the part of the first order. So for this part, once again you take a question. Describe the life of monks and nuns of the medieval Europe. So what are monks, or who are this? Let's see. Monks and nuns were devout Christians. Means these are some kind of Christians, some kind of people who are really devoted to Christianity. Now they were deeply religious people who lived or who loved to live isolated lives. They don't want to come in contact with general people. They used to live in religious communities. They will not stay in wherever they want. They will stay in those areas where only religious people live, so which were known as abbeys or monasteries, and these are exactly only meant for religious people. Here whoever lives, they are always in service to God. That means they always pray, live together. They talk. If they talk, they will always talk about God, God's way of living, God's way of writing, eating, whatever it is. Now, though it is not say that God eats this, God writes like this, but anyway, whatever they talk, it will be all about God's and God's way of living, right living. So the abbeys or monasteries were often situated at place very far from human habitations. Wherever these people live, wherever the nuns and monks live, they will be settled in far and very far areas where they can't see a general public. Why? Because they are totally devoted towards God. Suddenly if they see a general man who is walking all around with a very ease way, like does whatever he likes, gets up whenever he wants, no need to pray, he eats whatever he likes, so what will happen is that the person who is always devoted to God may sometimes feel that I wish I'm free like them, so that wish may take him away from God. So that is why most of the time this type of abbeys and monasteries are kept far away from habitations. Now vows were taken, means they used to take some promises in the abbey for the rest of their lives, and they spend most of their lives in this area only by studying, praying, or doing some manual work like farming. Both men and women were open to this type of life, as men became monks and women becomes nuns. Except in few cases, separate abbeys were there for men and women. When you say abbeys, means hostels. In a simple way, for men and women they keep a separate abbeys. Then whoever is a part of this, whoever become monks or nuns, they are not allowed to marry. Gradually, many people, as they see the life of these people, many people start to join these abbeys and wanted to be a part of this monks and nuns. Now these are all about the monks and nuns. Now what kind of rules and regulation they follow, we have to know that. So for the rules and regulation, we'll go to this source. So in this source it's written what are the rules of nuns and monks. So it is written that in Benedictine monasteries, there they found some kind of manuscripts with 73 chapters of rules which were to followed by monks and nuns for many centuries. Some of the rules are there in the book. You can see chapter 6. It has got one kind of rule: permission to speak should rarely be granted to monks. That means permission to speak. Now they cannot speak. Permission to speak should rarely be granted to monks. Monks are not allowed to talk. When you say talk, means what? Generally, okay, in that way. Now humility means obedience. Now they have to be so humble, they have to be so they have to do so many things that shows that they are obedient. Humility, they have to follow so many rules, regulations, and if they follow so many rules and regulations without opening out their mouth, whatever problem they have, they will not speak out. If they are able to do that, that means they are showing this humility, and that means they are very obedient. Okay, as for instances, when I say they are not allowed to talk, doesn't mean that what kind of talk. If they have some kind of pain, suffering, this and that, let's say what kind of suffering? It's very hot, they will not say it, they will bear it. It's very cold, they will try to bear that cold, and then they will try to see that yes, I can bear this thing. There are some areas where food is very less, okay, so they have to sometime suffer by eating half stomach. So all these things are a part of the monks and nuns rule. Now for example, we are under one institution. So it is this institution that is a Catholic run institution, we can say, right? Under this we have got fathers. So many fathers, like see those who are there in the school now, they are in a different ministry. But there are some fathers who are given some kind of task. For example, they are sent to some unknown areas without knowing the knowledge of language also. They are sent there, and it is their duty to survive there. It is their duty to to make those people understand who he is, what kind of life he lives, and why he is there, what is his purpose of coming. And after all, if he is able to make people understand that he is a person of such and such a status, then if people started obeying him, following, then means he is a success one. So that means chapter 6 says permission to speak should be rarely granted to monks. That is all about pain and any kind of demands and all. Secondly, they have to be honest with their thing. Third, in chapter 33, as it is said, no monk should own a private property. So they don't have it. Our school fathers also, they don't have a private property. When I say private property, means they don't have any account books, that means bank balance and all. You will not find that they have a what is that, account book of any banks. Yes, if they have it, it will be a common one, that means for in the name of the institution. So in that way, they don't run after money. They don't see that what will I do that I can get more and more money. If they are earning money also, they will invest in such a way that that money is being used up for some kind of development of the area. So they will build up church, they will build up schools, they will build up hospitals in the name of different Catholic persons, very religious persons. So in that way it comes on. So they are not allowed to own private property. Then chapter 47 says that idleness is the enemy of the soul. If they are lazy, if they don't do anything, if they just sit in one area and do nothing, that means it is their enemy. So they say farers and sisters, that means when you say farers means fathers, okay, or those nuns, should be occupied certain times in manual labor and at fixed hours in sacred reading. So when they are free, if they have nothing to do, they are not allowed to sit idly. What they have to do is some kind of manual labor, farming or cultivating or gardening, whatever it is. And if there is some time left or fixed hour is already made for reading books, that is sacred books. Then chapter 48 says that the monastery should be laid out in such a way that all necessities should be found within its bound, so that they don't need to go out. They need water, they need a mill, they need garden, they need workshop. It should be all within their reach, so that for their demand they are not allowed to go out. So that was how the nuns and monks were controlled in the medieval Europe. So after the monks, our next topic is the church and society. So take down a question. Throw light on the influence of the church on medieval European society. Just before this, we have done about nuns and the monks. So now we are going to see what type of role is played by the church and the society. So the church had a great influence on the society of the medieval Europe. It brought significant changes in the Europeans' old beliefs in magic and folk traditions. Now they started to celebrate, that means Christ's birthday was celebrated or is celebrated on 25th September, and this replaced an old pre-Roman festival whose date was calculated with the help of the solar calendar. Now exactly what happened was that in a Roman time or pre-Roman time, they used to celebrate on that day only, that is on 25th September, some kind of festival. But after coming of Christians or after coming of the church, they said this particular day is a birthday of Jesus Christ, so let us celebrate it. Secondly, Easter is the symbol of crucifixion of Christ and his rising from the dead. So this we know in our regular way, like we celebrate all these things. So we came to know that Easter is a symbol of crucifixion. Crucifixion means when he was nailed on the cross. And Easter is also related to the same day when he raised up from the dead. But the date of Easter is not fixed. one because it replaced an older festival to celebrate the coming of spring after a long winter. So now see, here Roman people celebrate a kind of festival just like Easter. Now Roman people used to celebrate coming of festival or coming of spring, and coming of spring, the date was not fixed. Likewise, when the Roman celebrate this festival of spring, and after coming of Christians, they name it as Easter, and the day of Easter is also not fixed. Traditionally, on this day, people of each village visited their village lands. They even continued to do so even with the coming of Christianity, but they called the village parish under the supervision of one priest. Now this practice, okay, when the Easter was brought, when the Easter started, okay, it was a modern way of celebrating. But what do exactly they do on this Easter before the Christianity came? Now this people, means the Romans, they used to visit the area where they used to cultivate crops and all, and they used to pray for the better crop. But after coming of the Christians, okay, people of each village, what do on Easter? They visit from place to place. And nowadays, I don't know whether it is same or not, but in some places they always celebrate this in a different style. Okay, Easter is celebrated in a different way because what I had seen is not a Catholic way of celebration, but I saw Protestant way of celebration, right? So everywhere at present the ways of celebration is very different. So we are talking about Easter and the traditional way of celebration, and nowadays they even continue to do so, okay, with the coming of Christianity, but they call the village as parish, and they go to this parish area and they do some kind of prayer services out there on the eve of Easter. Now holidays, you can see that it's written holy days. Now holidays were welcomed by the overworked peasant because they were not required to do work on that day. Exactly. Now see, we all really love holidays. So in the pre-Roman time or before the coming of Christians, the workers will eagerly wait for the holidays, and that was done, or that was changed into holidays by the coming of Christians. Spelling itself changed, right? So now HOLY, holy days. So we're welcome. Now during that time, during the pre-Roman time, they call it as holy, HOLY, but after the coming of Christian, they call it as holidays. And these holidays were meant for prayer, but generally people spend most part of that time having fun and feasting. So exactly, they say that this is a time where you have the chance to pray to God. The whole day you walk, the whole week you walk, at least one day you have to give time to the God for praying and all. So this is what the actual meaning of this holidays. But what do the general public do most of the time? They have fun, they have feasting, eating, moving around, hanging around. So all these things they do it. Then another thing that comes here is that pilgrimage, right? Pilgrimage was an important part of life of Christian. Many people went on long journeys to big churches or to the shrines of martyrs. So this became a part of the society. Now when you talk about what society, after coming of church, what happened to the society? Because they start to learn new things, and this new things started to give them or teach them different way of looking at the lifestyle. So they took this pilgrimage as a very important part of their life, and thus they start to move on to visit the big church or shrines of martyrs.